and hear me? Well, except the microphone's pointing the wrong way. Can you see and hear me? I need to look over here. We're working on this. We're not live yet. Hold on. Actually, I'm gonna leave it the way it is, and I'm just gonna turn it around towards you, towards your plane. There we go. All right, here we go. Except the lighting is really bad. Okay. Okay, we are, I don't know if you can see and hear me, hear the plane. Can anyone please let me know if you can see and hear us? Oops, somebody just said, oh, what the hell? Oh, it's putting an ad on. It's playing an ad. Okay. All right, so somebody says Plane Baby, so they must be seeing it.
Oh, Plane Baby, okay.
Right.
Yeah, they're
okay,
seeing it.
that's your friend TJS. Okay, so we're not starting yet, but we are starting shortly. I just thought I'd give you something to look at before we do start. We're starting in about 8 minutes, probably less than that.
Get your questions in.
Yeah, if you have questions, audio's good, that's good, because it's not even pointing at me, so that's very good. So how this is gonna work, just for those of you who are here early, I'm gonna just adjust this so you can see the plane better, is I'm going to be following Susan around with the camera while she talks to you a little bit about what she does, and then shows us Plane Baby, and explains why she's got the cowling off in the front. And then from there, then I'll start taking questions. So the way the questions work is I've got my iPad set up so that I can see your questions, and so I'll be consulting that back and forth. It's the way I usually do these, except I'm not quite sure if I'm going to use a tripod for the question and answer part. I might just follow her around or whatever. You don't really need to see me. You can see Susan. So anybody, if you have questions already, you can put them in and I will scroll back for them. And otherwise I'll take them as they come, and channel subscribers do get priority on that. Channel members, I should say. Channel members get priority on that. And Adam Grace says, that plane is beautiful. I love the pink. He's got heart eyeballs. Too. And then Joe's one of my channel members. He says it's a very nice aircraft, which of course it is. So how about if I walk around a little bit and show you the aircraft from a bunch of different angles, and then we'll get started. That'll keep me busy. And I'm not gonna be reading the comments, so until I get back. So we are at the airport. We're at Apple Valley Airport. I hope you can hear me. We're at Apple Valley Airport. This is Susan's hangar. And this is Plane Baby, which is for sale. And she's doing a little bit of maintenance work on it, which is why the cowl is off in the front. Let me walk around the other side. I have to be careful not to hit this thing, which one of you, right, has to ask about. That thing. Anyway, there's the engine over there, and she's been doing some work on it. And we'll continue to do work on it. So it might be a little bit noisy here. The reason for that is because we are at an airport. We're not really close to the runway, and the gentleman next door who was working on his plane, he's already done his run-up, so we shouldn't have any really close noise unless someone comes or goes while we're in here. But please do have patience for that. And here's the other side here. Okay. Lots of awards here. Let me show you the awards. And she has...
My bestest award is not here. It's at my house.
Okay. But these are pretty good. Yeah. Like plaques and very cool.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about competition.
Uh-huh. Yeah. All right, cool.
What the awards all mean.
Yep. And then here's a whole bunch of medals, which is cool. And there was an American flag up there, but unfortunately it fell down and we can't get it back up there today. Because we don't have a ladder, basically. And those are my pups that are sleeping already. TJS says the award wall is growing, and I cannot believe that I see that. Okay, so I think, let's see what time it is. Jamie says hi from North Carolina. It's about 4 minutes early. I think I will start, if that's okay with everybody here. I know that we're not fully assembled. Maybe let me wait a few more minutes. I'll just wait a few more minutes.
Wait, I'm promoting on Twitter.
Okay,
so.
Susan's putting it back on Twitter. I'm just gonna leave the camera here looking at Plane Baby. And thankfully the Noise from next door stopped. That's good. And I got a little tiny tripod here, and let's see what I can do. There we go. Okay, so people are getting some questions in already.
I just promoted that we were in the pre-show.
And HEL says you're awesome. And I assume he's talking about you.
We were both awesome.
We're both awesome, right? All right, so we got 3 minutes, everyone. Just watch the flame. Not going anywhere, but.
Yeah, definitely need to run it up. So. The changes will Oh, we have quick load. We could put, yeah. They're not, it's, you know, it's not standard, but everyone puts on the
Do you usually run the engine before you?
Normally, this one, because I had already taken a bunch of the cowling off of the handle, I didn't.
Yeah.
But I let it drain overnight.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Really got most of the blood out. So,
My mechanic always likes me to run it up.
yeah, you're supposed to keep it.
Yeah,
the
well, yeah.
viscosity up, yeah. But I just because my friend was coming in to do the inspection, I had to take a bunch of panels off.
Yeah.
And I can't run it up with the cowling off is fine, but the rest of it you can't, you can damage it. So.
Hold on. Gotta adjust this. Yeah, it's better.
Terry's TJS.
Okay.
Okay.
The camera in use is my iPhone, so that's, if you're wondering what the camera is, it's an iPhone with, a dead cat microphone on it. If you know what that is, it's supposed to block the wind. And you might be getting some wind noise now, and that will go away when I step back into the hangar with it. Louisiana says hello. Joe likes the blue accent on the wind.
Oh yes, it's all blue.
Got 1 minute, 1 minute warning. And I might actually be able to see the questions on the phone. So we've got 21 folks so far visiting, which is great. And should be any minute now. And the wind is picking up, of course. Whoops.
One thing's constant, there's always wind in the desert.
Yes. Okay, we're gonna get started.
All right.
Okay, I'm holding the camera, so we're gonna just show you Susan. You don't need to see me. Anyway, let me have to put my glasses on so I can read the messages. This is Susan Bell, and she is an aerobatic pilot. That is one of her airplanes. It's currently for sale, and she's gonna tell us about the work that she does and about the plane, and she will answer your questions.
Yeah, so thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks for Maria for coming out to Apple Valley
Yep.
in the desert. So again, Susan Bell, I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Susan Bell Air. That's my social media tag. And I've been flying competition aerobatics since 2016, I believe. And I bought this plane, which I call Plane Baby, because she's blue and white like babies. In 2017, once I started getting serious about getting into competition. She is an Extra 300, the original Extra 300. The 300 is 300 horsepower. And what's unusual about her is she is a mid-wing. So you notice if I stand by it, this wing is literally in the middle of the plane's fuselage. It's not low, it's not high like a Cessna, and there's not a lot of aircraft in the world that are mid-wings. And this wing is a solid piece. It runs through, all the way through the plane. So it's one piece wing, and that's why extras in particular are so great and have plus minus 10 Gs, because that wing is so very strong. Anyway, so I bought this plane after flying a year in primary, and we can talk about the competition levels in a moment, but that's the beginner level. And I wanted to start flying sportsman. So I bought this. I've done a lot of work to the plane, like repainted the wings, did a lot of cowling repairs, and just literally made her even more spiffy than she was. And I'm currently doing some little work on the engine. It was time for her conditional inspection, which is the annual for experimental planes. She's actually built in a factory in Germany, but she's experimental exhibition in the United States because it can't be certified at the serial number she was built at. A lot of the extras in aerobatic planes that are factory built are also experimental exhibition, and that means we use them for air shows or competitions or things like that. That's what that class is. So experimental doesn't necessarily mean home built. So because she's experimental, I actually can do a lot of work on the plane. So we had I've got a small crack in the exhaust, got that welded.
Take a closer look.
And I actually would replace this exhaust tube today, and I'm tightening up this. This is the 6-in-1 collector. So for more horsepower on these engines, we actually collect all the exhaust together. This is an add-on. Cool. It's an aftermarket. And then just in case no one's ever seen it, this is actually your EGT probe right here. I need to put that back in the hole, but that's part of the engine monitoring I need to finish up. A couple of other interesting things about these types of aircraft. You had to add the filter, oil filter after the fact. It's not standard. This engine itself is an AEIO 540, and the AE actually means that it's aerobatic. And it actually has oil sumps on the top and the bottom of the engine. Wow. So when we're inverted, we actually still have oil in there.
That's very cool.
Another cool thing about these engines is often your intake. So this is your intake where the air comes in. We use no filters on these engines because it actually reduces horsepower. So there's a grate on the cowling that goes over this, but it's not filtered. A lot of airplanes, your intake air into your cylinders runs through your oil to cool. Not on ours. We want the coldest air possible for the most horsepower. So they actually have these kind of cold air systems below here. And then if we come on to the other side, let me show you the...
Sorry, someone wanted me to stand closer to hear you, but I think it'll be better now that that plane is gone. We're at an airport again, and we can't really control the other noise.
Yeah, and so this is actually... So for inverted systems, this is part of our inverted oil system here. And so this actually has some balls in it. So when we roll inverted, the balls drop and then the oil changes course so we can fly inverted.
That's very cool.
These engines are actually quite specialized in the, the actual aerobatic planes. I know like Vicki Benzing, of course, flies an air show in a Stearman, which isn't an aerobatic plane. She actually can cut out her engine as she goes over the top of a loop. These engines keep running. When we do knife edge, where we're actually sideways, we do have a limit of so many seconds doing that because there is no oil directly being flung around the engine. But yeah, the engines on these are great. They're almost all Lycoming. I can't off the top of my head even think of a Continental that's an aerobatic plane. But this is a 540. My other plane, back to my story, I flew this plane for several years. I won one of the national titles. I won the Sportsman Championship in 2018 in it, and she's been a great plane, but I want to make the U.S. Aerobatic team in the future, so I decided I needed to get a single-seat version of a plane so it's less weight, more engine, and even bigger engine in it to start training at higher levels. So that's why this plane is currently for sale. She's a great plane, and I'm looking, hopefully she'll have very good home.
Buy this plane.
Buy this plane.
It's been well taken care of.
Yeah, so a couple other interesting things about extras. This landing gear here is one giant arc.
Okay.
It's one full piece that runs through the plane, and it acts like kind of a spring.
Okay.
When you land.
Very cool.
Very unusual. And then, again, I'm pointing out the wing. The wing is massive.
Sure.
And this is why this is it is just indestructible, basically. I don't think they've had a failure of an extra wing ever. We have made some mods, like this used to be rubber seals, and we actually made a fiberglass fairing there for the wind, and again, I've done a lot of work on it. Now, come over here, actually come on this side.
Okay.
All right, we'll come
I'm
back.
like
We'll come back to this in a second.
slightly stressed because my dogs have disappeared, but okay.
Oh, they ran that way.
Yeah, I think they went bit by the garbage again.
Okay. So I
Okay.
want to just show how big
Okay.
the ailerons are. Okay. The aileron goes from the wingtip to here.
Okay. I'm all the way out here.
All the way out here.
Okay.
There are no flaps on these planes. And this is why we can roll so fast, is because we have these massive ailerons. But because, oh, sorry, helicopter, I'm walking here. Because that is a lot of stick force to be able to push this into the wind, they have these devices underneath the wings. They're either called shovels or spades. It just depends on their shape. And these actually act like power steering. And this is when you see an aerobatic plane, this is what it does. So when I raise, throw the aileron over to do this, actually, the wind hits this and helps relieve the stick force to get this ginormous aileron up in the air. We spend a lot of time messing with these and putting washers in them and everything to try to get the perfect stick feel so we have enough resistance but not too much resistance. And then we do even more tweaking, like there's tape on the gaps, there's all kinds of stuff, and we even put, this is window seal, and this actually helps us when we're rolling. We need to be able to roll really quick and then just stop, like nail the stop. Like if you hit a brick wall, this actually helps some. That actually helps us stop right on. And so you're always tweaking planes with tiny little things like this. And that's what's so amazing, is like a tiny washer there or another inch of this will absolutely change the feel of this ailerons when you're actually rolling the plane. It's pretty dramatic when you're actually inside and you're like, what's going on? Okay, back to the weird triangle.
Okay, the weird triangle thing.
I have these flags on so you don't run into them in the hangar.
And I almost did already once.
Yeah. So when I'm sitting in the cockpit,
okay.
And say I pull back and I need to go straight up. When you're learning that, you actually can then, you turn your head. We actually normally turn it to the left, but same thing here. And we actually want to see that this is parallel to the horizon. Yeah. And then that this is actually vertical. So it's actually a sighting device. So then say I pull and I need to do 45 up, hit the 45, especially when you're in practice, and you come over here and you look, are you at a 45-degree angle? And this is actually, like 45, if you're inverted going down. And so this is actually what these are, these devices that stick off the side of the wings. They are sighting devices. On pit specials, the biplanes, they're actually stars as opposed to triangles. You'll see stars sometimes. And then our very important string. This actually, when you're learning, say, vertical rolls, so you pull straight up in the air, and you need to do like rolls. You actually don't want to roll until the wind that you're actually vertical, okay? So when you pull vertical, you still have some forward momentum, and this string will actually show that. And so when we're learning, when you're first learning, you can actually use this string to make certain you're actually vertical before you roll. Because if you roll, because it's going to be the relative wind.
Right,
so this actually shows our relative wind. And then when you do a maneuver called a tail slide, which is up at the upper levels of competition, you actually, this actually will go verbal, and that actually tells you when to basically kick or do things. And so this string is actually used. It's kind of like a yaw string and a glider.
Or a helicopter. I have strings too.
But we use it specifically for aerobatics to figure out what our wind is doing around our wing. And so,
that's cool.
High-tech plane with a piece of string on it.
Yep. Works.
Couple other interesting things. The plane is composite, and it's a mix. My newer plane is all composite. This is a mix of composite. This is aluminum. This is actually fabric.
Oh, really? Wow.
So this lower panel down here for weight is made of fabric.
Oh, I can see now.
Yeah. And you
can see the seam.
Yeah.
Right in there.
Yeah. And so all extras, even the new fancy ones, have a fabric panel back here.
Wow.
It's lighter than aluminum or composite even. And then moving to the tail, again, we have very large elevators, and the rudders are actually quite large on the aerobatic planes too. And they are counterweighted up here, kind of similar to the
oh, really?
idea. And so this is actually when we do things like snap rolls or something, we just smack our foot on the rudder and that thing jumps out there in the plane to something crazy. But we have very big rudders, very big control surfaces all around. And then our trim tab, I actually set these and don't move them. I have them set so it's actually not set at the moment, but because I haven't been flying it. But I have it set so when I'm on a vertical line, the trim is perfect for vertical up. And then when I fly cross countries to contest, I have to pull back all the time. But I don't want to change my trim because it
That
works
makes
in
sense.
contest. So there's a few things, funny things like that. And then I always get a question, why do I have a oil or water bottle on the back of the tail? It's because this is the breather. So remember that inverted oil system?
Sure.
Our breather goes all the way through the plane and comes out here because when we roll, we throw oil out of the engine. And otherwise it'd be all over the plane's belly. So our breather comes out here.
Makes sense.
And at contests and stuff, everyone's got water bottles or whatever they can put on the end there to catch the oil.
But you take that off when you're flying,
I take
obviously.
it off when I'm flying. It's
Right.
literally for, and that's why it actually has a carpet.
Right.
Because oil
I have
comes off the tail.
my breather under my helicopter. I have to put a pan under it because it's always dripping.
Yeah, and then again, this is a 2-seat plane, but I'm currently flying a single seat. It's a very heavy canopy. The thing that's interesting about these planes, if you want to just zoom around, there's no interior. So it's literally, it is the outside of the plane, steel fuselage. In this plane, you can actually, when you climb in, you can put your foot through the window.
Which is bad.
You just stand on the seat and stand on the fuselage.
Right.
And then here, actually, I'll hold it. I want to show you, feel the actual
Okay.
stick.
Here we go.
Okay, hang on. I'm going to have her try it. See how light that is.
Oh my God! Yeah. It's like a cycle.
Yeah, but it weighs nothing, right?
Oh yeah. No, it's nice. And it's all mechanical. There's no hydraulics in it.
Yeah, it's all mechanical. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Someone said it looks like the T6s. Yeah. It's very utilitarian for what it is. And it's extremely simple. The only gauges we care about, this is a random, most of them don't have vertical speed, is airspeed and altitude.
Light's bad. Okay,
Airspeed,
there we go.
altitude. This is all we care about. We care about how fast we're going and how far above the ground we are when we do aerobatics.
You don't have to worry about bank because you can look out at your triangles.
Oh yeah, this is a look outside plane.
Yeah, good.
Absolutely look outside. I put in a Garmin G5 up here for cross countries.
Sure.
You know, so I have a heading, and then vertical speed's rare. It just happened to come in this plane. And then we were talking the engine monitor. Oh my God, I love this thing. This is how I know if my engine is fine. We fly these planes full throttle in 100+ degree weather. And so I'm always just making certain the engine's happy. That's like one of my other things. So my other plane, literally all I have is this, an engine monitor in the middle. Pretty much.
A question here that is appropriate. Are the engine controls push rods? I think is what it said.
Yes,
before it
they're push
disappeared.
rods.
Yes, they are push
they're
rods.
just push rods.
Thank you for the question.
Yep. They're actually, you can see right here, that part moving. So that's the aileron. In the newer plane, the SC that I own, it's actually carbon fiber. They made it even lightweight. They made the push rods out of carbon fiber. They're actually, it's probably steel in here, still some heavy aluminum. But then you can see it actually rotating down below.
Right.
So see, everything's rotating. They're very mechanical planes.
Yeah, and as she's doing that, you can see the wings moving. Do it some more. The ailerons. Did I get that right?
Yes, those are the ailerons. Yeah, and
I
then
don't know.
the other.
Not an airplane person.
I don't have my parachute. Yeah. So when we belt in, we have a 7-point harness.
Okay. I'm trying to imagine
Yeah.
7 points.
So 7 points. So.
That's 5.
Well, 6, 7. So you have.
I see.
So you actually belt all your belts.
Okay.
Like this through this.
Holy cow.
Okay. And so this is holds the belts on.
Sure. Oh
And
man.
see, it's hard to do from this angle.
Well, you're not going to fall out.
Well, I had one come loose. I actually undid one of my belts on a snap roll once.
Wow.
And then this one across here, and then we ratchet our butt in the seat. It's ratchet on both sides, and you literally need to squish yourself in the seat because you're flying inverted and at G's.
Sure.
And we're pushing. You've got to stay in the seat. You don't want to go up through the canopy.
Yeah.
And so the restraint system is robust and actually painful. I will end up with bruises on my legs sometimes from like, especially when I'm pushing. Instead of pulling, you push, and so you're negative G out of the plane. So yeah, it's they're simple planes, and like I joke that you can just, it is literally the most athletic of flying that we're doing in these.
I've seen the videos, and your face looks like you're working.
I fly about 20-minute practice flights and I am done. 'Cause it is just so strenuous. Um, and so that's pretty much the plane. Um,
Well, I think what
canopy is-
we could do is sit down, and we can chat more in the seating, your
Yeah,
seating
and then
area.
I'll talk a little bit about
Yep.
competition.
Let me just set up the camera a little differently. Just
Okay.
you take your place, and
All right, I'm
let's see what I can do
grabbing a
here.
Coke.
Hold on, folks. A little maneuvering of the phone and whatnot here. Hold on. Yes, that's the wall. Here's my.
You want to grab the.
No, I got it. I got it. Yes, I got it. Here we go. I'm going to put you guys are gonna go spinning now. Ready? Let me see if I can spin it the right direction. Here we go. Because we're changing over to a different.
Pups are back.
Yes, I'm glad the pups are back, because of course, they disappeared as soon as we started doing this. Anybody getting dizzy yet? It's aerobatics. You didn't know we would take aerobatic flying right in the hangar. All right. Hold on. I think that should be good. Let me get you. Okay, so
We have a moment of puppy.
yes,
love with the
puppy
video.
love.
Look at this.
And let's see now. I will, I guess I'll sit over here, but you really don't need to see me. I guess I just move the chair up.
Sit beside me.
No, it's okay. I'll sit in the chair. All right, so there we are. Now I got my iPad so I can read the questions.
All right. Well, let me. I'll give a slight overview of. Make certain they can hear. You can hear from here.
Can you hear her? Can
You good? If I talk.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's like a little delay, so I have to wait.
Okay. Oh, the pups are playing.
Oop, there's me sitting. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So,
Yeah, it's terrible.
I was just a little bit about aerobatics or competition aerobatics. So, I got into this because I was bored flying straight and level over Los Angeles. So, I took a week off, had some vacation time built up, and I went and did the emergency maneuver training course, like upset recovery at CP Aviation in Santa Paula, California. And first did like stalls and spins and, basically learning how to recover from those. And then I went the next month on a weekend and took purely like upset recovery, where you learn what to deal with, say, a control cable failure, or you have a wake turbulence encounter. How do you get out of that? By the way, you just keep rolling, roll back upright if that happens to you. And along the way, my body started getting more used to the forces involved with aerobatics and unusual attitudes. And I stopped feeling as airsick. And my instructor, Mark King, would actually do a hammerhead or do a loop after our lesson before we went back to the airport. We were flying it depended between a Citabria and a decathlon at the time, and I just thought it was so much fun. So by the time the third module of that program came around, which is Intro Aerobatics, I'd already decided I wanted to do aerobatics. So we didn't do that whole module, and I just started learning the primary sequence. And the primary sequence is for when you're doing competition. That's going to be the first thing you learn. It normally includes a one-turn spin, a loop, a roll, a steep turn. We're moving.
I know, here we go. We're moving. I know. You know what it is? It's because I want to get the camera a little bit closer.
Okay.
My bad.
Yeah, it's okay.
Whoops.
And and you actually can fly that at contests in the primary category. So I started going every weekend to go practice. So I did two lessons like every Saturday, Sunday. One was to get my tail wheel endorsement. And at the time I had maybe 150 hours. I was not a high time pilot. I, got my private, flown around in rental planes and stuff. So I got my tail wheel endorsement, and knowing I wanted to buy a plane eventually, I really got my tail wheel endorsement, not like just a checkout, but I could land that plane. And then I would go do an aerobatic flight where I started learning basic aerobatics. And so after about 3.5 months, I think, my instructor said, you go fly the first contest at Borrego Springs, and I had arranged to fly in a plane with another instructor, but they didn't make it. So it just so happened that there was another guy that had a super decathlon, and he let me fly with him, Mark Egan, out of NorCal. And so he ended up letting me fly his plane for the whole first season. That's actually the hardest thing about getting into aerobatics, is finding a plane to fly. Because you don't want to go buy a plane right off the bat. Sorry,
Plane go by. Airport, we're at an airport. My dogs, if they're being annoying, let me know.
Oh no, they're just so anyway, so I've worked on primary, and I'll tell you some of the cool things about primary. First off, learning to spin and stop on a heading, like literally do exactly 360 degrees, or exactly, three-quarter turn spin or something, is a skill. It takes a while to develop. And then to make your loop round is really hard too, because it's not just pull. You have to float over the top and let go of the stick and then start pulling again. And then our steep turns, oh, I had a convenient plane. Our steep turns, if you're a pilot, like when you do steep turns, say you're a commercial pilot, you can do 60 degrees of bank. See, that's 45, there's 60. Our steep turns have to be greater than 60. We're normally about like this. And we're judged on, keeping the same rate. And we actually have to go hit the bank, pause for a second, then pull around, pause for a second, then level your wings. And it's very different from, say, a commercial flying where you kind of blend everything together and go. So there's a lot of different, aerobatics is all about precision flying, and that's what I love, because you have to be so precise about everything you do, and it's super challenging. If you're a type A personality, you're never going to be perfect. I mean, like, I love 10s. If I get a 10 on something, I'm like, woohoo! And that's from one judge out of like 5 or 6. Then the other thing you have to learn, and I'm going to hold this up and tell me if you can see it.
Okay.
Actually, here, I'm going to get behind the camera. There you go. You can see it. This is actually called a resti. And this is actually a sequence I was flying last year. It was the advanced known sequence. And so figure 1, vertical up, quarter roll, go into a loop with a full roll over the top, come out horizontal, 3/4 of a roll one way, and then a 3 of 4, which is like ticking a plane. So you like a 3 of 4 is bam, bam, bam. And so you're actually kind of counting off the ticks 3 of 4 times around. And then you can actually do 8s, 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, like that. And you have to hold them. And then I mark these all up with different colors. Everyone has their own way of marking. Like I wanted to go right on that and then go left on this one. And this is called a bow tie. This is actually a hammerhead, that little tick. This thing is fun. This is 2 of 4, and then you push over the top. And we actually call this an alien. I don't know why. This is a Humpty Bump. That's a snap roll. And then this is actually the hardest thing in the world for a lot of pilots. It's a rolling turn. So a rolling turn. Imagine you do the steep bank and then you turn. Okay? Now, do a steep bank and roll at the same time you're turning while staying on a level plane. Your mind explodes when you're trying to learn them. Your mind
thinking about it.
And we often have to start them inverted and start rolling into the right direction. And everything in aerobatics is directional. You do something the wrong direction, you just got a big fat 0. So, and anyway, if you're interested in learning more about any of this, I'd suggest going to the International Aerobatic Club's website, which is IAC.org, and we're a part of EAA. We're kind of a subgroup, just like Warbirds or Vintage, and that's where all the competition information is. But it also will get you hooked up with schools and and just let you know more about aerobatics in general. So there's a lot of general information there. Even if you don't want to compete, you can still learn about aerobatics. And then, of course, all aerobatic pilots, we are very pro upset recovery. I think every pilot should go take an upset recovery course, because you someday may be in a situation behind that business jet and get caught in the wake turbulence, or you're in a situation where you have a control lockup. How do you do that? And when I went and took the EMT course, one thing we did is landed with trim. We learned how to use power and trim to land a plane, so you couldn't use elevator. So there's a lot of cool tricks in upset recovery, and it is related to aerobatics. It's not like the precision of aerobatics, it's more about safety, but they are together. And aerobatics in general is precision and energy management. Most of the stuff I do is trying to figure out what speed I need to be at, how many G's I can pull, and I've got to keep doing rolls on a vertical line. And so we learned a whole lot about feeling the plane. It's so funny, like if you're an instrument pilot, they tell you not to feel the plane. Don't trust your senses. In aerobatics, almost all I do is trust my senses. Does the plane feel good? Do you think I can do this? And it's really strange. You kind of become very one with your plane. So anyway, that's kind of all I had to talk about. So let's take questions.
So I'm gonna take. I'm gonna go backwards a little bit.
Okay.
It's Maria. I'm still here.
Yeah.
I'm hoping you can still hear me.
Do you want to hop over here?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Let's see if my dogs will leave me alone. Okay, hold on.
All right.
Sound effects.
Okay.
Okay. So let's see. There's the microphone. It's like you can see it in the camera now.
That's all right.
I don't know.
I
It's
may
kind of
get it.
funky
Oh,
there. Hold on a second.
she's
I did it. Damn. Okay. Well, man, I don't know if that did it or not. Okay. Anyway, I had a couple of this. I'm going back here. I have to go back to the beginning. We already heard how she got in. Actually, Tango Delta Whiskey wants to know how you got started in aviation. You mentioned how you got started in aerobatics. So yeah.
I did not come from an aviation family. I knew nothing about flying airplanes, and but when I was a kid, I always wanted to be an astronaut. I was studying engineering in school, but I didn't really like it. Wasn't that I wasn't good at it. I just didn't like it, and I ended up going into the film industry. But I randomly got invited to an early tweet up that was held by NASA at NASA Dryden, which is now NASA Edwards. And we got to meet all the NASA test pilots and sit in the FA-18 Hornets. And having met all the NASA pilots, I still always liked space and stuff. I just wasn't, didn't have the background to be an astronaut anymore. I thought, well, I can at least be a pilot, and so maybe that's my goal, is like be a pilot. So I happened to, at that point, be moving to the San Francisco Bay Area for a job, and I got my private pilot's license up there. I was in my 30s, and in 4 months, I literally took to flying, duck to water. Did my intro flight at a local flying club on July 29th, and I took my check ride on November 29th, the same year. And I flew twice a week was kind of what I did to keep that schedule going. And then I ended up moving back down to the LA area to work for NASA JPL, and didn't fly for a while. And then I got hooked up with a flying club that's found it boring, and that's kind of how then I went and did emergency maneuver training. And that was in 2015, and early 16 is when I started competing. I competed a whole year with my safety pilot friend in his decathlon. 2017, I bought the Midwing Extra. And then 2018, I've been working, when we were coached, when you're first getting going, you fly with an instructor in the plane. But then once you're competent and safe enough, your instructor or your coach actually watches you from the ground. And so we actually coach and critique people from the ground to make certain they know that loop is around. And so I had a IAC chapter member here up in the desert, chapter 26, member Steve De La Cruz. We would actually fly almost every weekend, and he would help coach me. And so I started doing really well in Sportsman. And about June that year, I said, what if I go to nationals? And I've never been to nationals or anything. And they said, you could go to nationals. Well, I ended up winning the Sportsman title at nationals that year. I just was on a roll. So it just kind of something, once I got into it, it was super fun. They always say once you get your private pilot's license, you kind of have to find your passion, because otherwise you're bored. And so you've got to have something to do. And so whether it's flying friends or going for $100 hamburgers or working with pet rescue or angel flight, so mine just kind of became aerobatics. And I am a flight instructor now, and and I actually flew traffic watch for a while in LA, which was super fun for the radio stations. But yeah, I pretty much do aerobatics now. So there's my whole background.
That's the whole thing. All right. So let me see what else we have here. Okay, wait a second now. Can you? I think the sound is okay. I'm getting back and forth on the sound. Okay, hold on. DCP agrees on the upset recovery training that you mentioned earlier. And let's see, I cannot read this name. Begins with a V, Vold, I don't know, I can't read it. He or she does hang gliding aerobatics, which is, energy management is very important, I would think so.
Yeah.
With hang gliding.
Yeah, I actually have a glider rating as well, which is really energy management
Yeah,
too.
sure.
Yeah.
GG Aviation wants to know if you remember your first spin training.
Yes, so it was when I went and did the upset recovery, because I did that before I got my CFI rating, and it was a series of 4 lessons, and so the first lesson was literally about stall. So we did the falling leaf exercise, which is where you actually stall the plane and you just keep picking up the wing as it drops with rudder, which is a really great technique that I think should be taught to private pilots. Because if everyone doesn't understand like stalls and spins, a spin, you have to actually both be stalled, but you also have to have yaw. So you need to have the plane not straight, okay? So it's actually stall plus yaw, and and so stalling planes isn't going to spin. And so that exercise actually teaches you to pick things up with rudder, which keeps your yaw, because if you use aileron, you can actually go into a spiral. And then I think the second lesson was just doing up. They're all upright spins, not inverted spins. We do inverted spins as well. But yeah, it's actually very unnerving. I've taken people up on aerobatic rides, and they get freaked out by spins because the plane is auto rotating. It's like this. It's not straight down. It's doing something like this, and it has this weird circular motion to it. And it really messes up your head. You're like, what is going on? But I'm used to it now. But if I take someone on aerobatic ride, that's the last thing I do. If they want to see a spin, because it inevitably makes people airsick. But once you learn, to basically, you always pull power back. And I will tell you, some of I actually tore my ACL and meniscus.
Question about that.
Last year, flying aerobatics. My foot slipped off the pedal in my other plane, and I had to have knee surgery, so I was out of competition last year. But as soon as that happened, and I literally was in a snap roll, I ended up inverted. I rolled upright and just pulled the power back, not to idle, but just pulled it back so it's not full power. But basically, most of the time, if something goes really wrong with your plane, we normally always pull the power back, and then figure out what the plane's doing, because you want to take the power out of the equation. So when you do spin recovery, PAIR's the acronym, which is power back, ailerons neutral. You don't want to add aileron into anything because it can make things worse. Rudder, so fly opposite rudder. And so you look over basically the nose of the plane, figure out which way the ground's going, and put the rudder that's opposite the direction of the ground. If you're inverted, it's the same thing. If it's going this way, it's still relative to you. Put your other foot in, and then that will actually stop it, and then elevator, you want to pull out of your dive. You never need to jump, even on stalls. Don't yank back on the elevator. It's, you have that. A lot of people want to because they're scared of the ground, but the elevator can actually make things worse. Be calm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be calm.
In the helicopter world, there's also a similar situation where your instinct tells you, pull pitch, pull collective. Yeah. And in reality, in that particular thing, which is settling with power, that is the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me catch up a little bit. I have a couple of guys here that are in awe of you, Joe and Tango Delta Whiskey. And I got the name of the person whose name I couldn't say. It's Christian Bondelius. I hope I'm saying that.
Okay.
He says he and his buddy taught themselves to do spins in a Cessna 150 at Ellensburg. And I think you're kind of brave.
Yeah, well, 150s are utility category. Do not, I will caution everyone, do not do spins in planes that the POH says is prohibited. There's a good reason for that. It may not recover until 6 spins or more around. So don't, I am very much against people doing aerobatics in planes that are not capable of aerobatics because there are operating limitations. People will die. Your plane does not have a wing that is solid like an extra or some of these other wings. So yeah.
Also, Christian, let's see if I can get his name right. I don't know
We'll just call him Christian.
We're going to call him Christian.
Okay.
Christian wants to know, do you do outside loops?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So my last year before I hurt my knee, I was working on the advanced, which is where a lot of the outside maneuvers come in. And for people who don't understand that, an inside loop, you the pilot, you're on the inside of the loop. It's like a normal roller coaster. So an outside loop, you actually start from inverted and you roll, you're on the outside of the loop like this. And that is actually called negative G. So when you pull, it's like a roller coaster again. It pulls you down into the seat. That's positive G. Negative G, on this, you actually have to push the stick forward and you're throwing yourself out of the plane and all the blood goes to your head and it's actually painful. And so I was actually working on conditioning to do all these outside maneuvers because they do show up at the advanced level of flying in our competition. So, and then I decided to destroy my knee, so I'm having to get back in that this spring.
Yeah. Let's see. Any other? We're running out of questions here. Anyone else? For those of you who see us on Twitter, like Jason, hello, Jason. He said hi. So a lot of folks here are from my channel and probably from Susan's channel, and then other Susan's social media. I'm pretty much just on Twitter because delete Facebook. That's all I gotta say. That's what I always say. And so there's also some folks here from Twitter. So 28 people, which is pretty good. Let's see now. DCP wants you to talk about physical conditioning and training for aerobatics.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's until you've actually done the higher G aerobatics, you don't have any understanding of how intense this is because when I hurt my knee, I was doing about +8, -4 Gs. So a normal person, if I put you in the front of the plane and I take you on a ride and I pull 4 Gs, about there you're going to start graying out. So at the beginning of the season, we tend to start flying and just working on getting our G tolerance back up to higher levels. Someone like Rob Holland, who's the 10-time U.S. national champion and full-time airshow pilot, he literally can do +12 Gs. All right, that's more than someone in the military is ever going to pull in one of their aircraft. It's just insane. But it's partly because our bodies get used to it because we keep flying. Like I fly multiple times a week during competition season, working on things. The negative G, same thing. I was working on just slowly building that up past +4 to maybe +5. I don't right now need to go much further. Rob or someone like that could probably do -8 or something insane. I don't know if I'm ever going to be at that level. But it's very interesting. The weird thing about conditioning and stuff for aerobatics is we do need strength training because actually being able to throw a stick over or hold, stomp on the rudder is a lot of muscle power. And so I lift weights, and right now I'm actually doing physical therapy for my knees still, so riding my spin bike and stuff like that. But we don't want to be in too great a shape. I've always heard that people who run marathons who have really low resting blood pressure do not do well with all the G's because their blood pressure is too low. So
I wouldn't have that problem.
Yeah, so actually my AME who also does aerobatics, he's like, I wish everyone would just go drink a can of Coke before they flew to get sugar in your system. But yeah, there's a lot of strength involved. It's less on like cardio fitness. It's more actual muscle strength involved. And I need to work on it more and more. It's just, I do have a job and other things.
Yeah.
Hey, the puppies are back.
Well, the puppies are back again. Every time I start getting worried, they come back. They must know. GC Aviation says the accelerometer on the instrument panel shows 12G. Is it like
Yes.
its resting spot?
The plane itself is certified to plus minus 10. It actually, we've been told extras can go up to 18 or 20. It depends. Again, this is a plus minus 10G. The MXSs, and the S means single seat, like Rob flies, I believe those are plus minus 12 Gs. And it has to just do with how strong the plane is, like the wing itself. But yeah, like I said, I normally am doing, right now, I'm about +8, -4. And I'll tell you, the minus stuff hurts way more than the +8. It's literally blood pressure in your head. People will burst capillaries in their eyes having flown.
Christian wants to know if you're sponsored.
I have Butler Parachutes sponsors me and gives me parachutes. I'm not doing air shows yet. I eventually will do air shows. I'm trying right now to focus on competition and kind of building up all my skill set. But Butler Parachutes does sponsor me with the parachutes, and eventually, you know, I'd hope to get some other sponsors, especially when I start doing air shows, which is more public focused. Aerobatic competition is like the world's least known motor sport. I swear, no one knows it happens, and it's partly because it's just such a, it's not necessarily spectator friendly because we're like flying, you know, really specific patterns that the public doesn't understand.
You have to be like right in their faces for
Yeah,
them to
and
enjoy it.
it's just a very odd sport, but it is a world level sport. We, just like F1 racing has their governing body for the world, we have a governing body for aeronautical sports, which includes like parachuting and all the hang gliding, all the big things that are world power sports. We're in that kind of category, but no one knows it exists in the United States, at least. So, I mean, Red Bull Air Racing, I guess, brought it a little bit to the front, but we're not air racing. We're doing precision figure skating in the sky.
So there's been a couple of comments regarding Patty Wagstaff,
Yeah.
and you know Patty, I
Yes.
assume, and that you held the ribbon polls for her at Oshkosh, according to TJS.
Yeah, that's
and we've
Sherry.
got the poll.
Yeah, actually, the ribbons in the
ribbons
back
in
of
the
my
back.
hanger.
We'll show
Yeah.
it later.
So Patty's actually one of my, I would say literally an idol probably, but she's also a mentor. And in 2000, let me think. I think it was 2019. I'm trying to think what year it was. When was COVID? It's probably 2019 when the last Oshkosh was that I went to. I finally met her in person. We knew each other on Twitter and social media, but I'm in California, she's in Florida. And I went up and met her in person. She let me hang out on Women Venture Day at Oshkosh at the Performers Tent. And she asked me to be one of the pole holders. So I got to hold the poles on either side of the Oshkosh runway where they put crepe paper, and she did her inverted ribbon cut on the air show at Oshkosh. Right. And so that was actually pretty cool doing that at Oshkosh.
Are you going to Oshkosh this year?
Yes. So
I'm not.
Yes, I will be at Oshkosh, and I'm doing, I both have a Competition Aerobatics 101 talk on Thursday morning at 10 a.m. And it's not been announced yet, but I'll give you all a sneak. I am going to be one on the panelists for Women Venture Day in the evening theater in the woods. EAA hasn't released all the people, but I've been asked to talk about aerobatics. So cool. I don't have the details on that yet, but it's supposed to be Wednesday evening.
Is there a lot of people a lot of women doing aerobatics?
Yes and no. There are definitely several schools that really encourage their women pilots to do aerobatics. We have a collegiate program, and they compete in the same categories as us, but they compete for points against the other schools. At the higher levels, no. There's Melissa, and I'm blanking on what her name is. She's changed names several times. Sorry. There's I think there's 2 women that fly unlimited. There's another woman, a couple of women that fly advanced off and on, but it's literally less than 10 that fly higher level nationally. And there's a lot in the lower levels that are, say, with their universities. And why I said yes and no is because at one point I actually did the statistics, and there were actually about 10% of the pilots were women. And I don't know if that was at regional contest or nationals, but which is greater than the 6 to 7% nationwide overall. So yes and no.
Do you, is there any team stuff in aerobatics? Is there anything?
Yes.
Team?
So team. You know what
Team. Yeah, wants to know. Let's see now. This is
The teams. Yeah.
Yeah, Fred. Says, has Susan ever flown aerobatics with anyone else or teamwork?
So our competition levels are purely solo, and there is actually an air show competition for the higher level pilots that have air show cards, and a lot of them are actually air show pilots. We don't do team aerobatics, but you will find that more on the air show side of things when you're actually doing it's formation aerobatics
Right.
for sure. I don't have any experience with that. I've done some formation flying. Um, yeah, I don't know. It does exist, but it's not a competition level for us. So.
And then Fred also wants to know if money was no object, what plane?
Well, I kind of bought the top plane.
She bought it already.
Yeah, money was an object. Let me put it that way. But I kind of needed it. I felt so. The midwing that y'all saw earlier, it is a great plane. It is 30 years old. So when it came out, it really revolutionized aerobatics, the mono-wing planes. Because before that, it was when the Pitts biplanes were ruling aerobatics. And no one could really beat them until these composite mono wings with big engines came along and everyone started adopting them. And so like Patty Wagstaff's plane that's in the Smithsonian, I believe it's a 260 or 280 extra, and this is a 300. And it had some wood on it, so it's not purely composite. But that's like what she won the national championship in. So that the extras actually took the crown, say, of winning national championships away from the Pitts. Now, again, this plane's 30 years old, so there's been a lot of updates and ways to lighten the plane since then in the line of extra aircraft. And there's some other manufacturers like Edge, which does a lot of Red Bull air racing planes, and then MX, which is a newer composite plane, and then Gamebird, and there's some other competitors. But extras are just like the known brand. And so basically my coaches at the time were like, we should get you in a single seat plane because it's going to weigh less and have more power. So our power to weight ratio in a single seat plane is less because you're not, it's a smaller fuselage. The wing's actually a little bit smaller too. So I actually almost bought a known air show performers plane. That deal fell through, and then I found my current plane, which is technically it's a 300 SR, but it's in the mode of 330 SC, and it was one of two planes built for the Red Bull air races. So it was originally flown in the Red Bull air races in 2007 and 8 by Nicholas Ivanov, and it was painted gray and orange. Extra and Red Bull, for some reason, they pulled the two extras out of the competition series. They went back to the factory, they repainted them, took off the racing wing, which had kind of the end of the wings went to points as opposed to being more solid like ours, and blunt. Ours very blunt on the on the ends. And they put on the SC wing, which that means single seat competition. SR was single seat racing. That's some of the initials. And so then they repainted it and branded it as an SC. It's technically an SR. So I have one of 300 SRs ever built with a different wing on it.
Wow.
And the interesting thing about that is at that point, the ailerons, which you saw earlier, they actually are now counterweighted on those planes. So there's a big counterweight, kind of like on the tail you saw, on the ailerons and on the rudder. So they roll even faster and have even more control surfaces. And so it's just been built and improved over and over from this original 300 midwing. And so it's a fabulous plane. I mean, it is like flying a beast. I can't even explain the amount of power that plane has. And this is kind of funny, but
because it's got more engine but less weight.
It's got more engine, less weight, and bigger control surfaces. Yeah. And I actually I think I was talking with Patty, and I said, "Oh, this plane could hurt you." And literally 6 weeks later, I tear my ACL in it. So I don't know if I doomed myself, but partly because I hadn't had all the ergonomics fixed in it yet. I got it right as contest season started, so I wanted to fly some contest in it. So, but and there was a leaky brake. So some hydraulic fluid maybe slip.
a little something.
Yeah, so.
That's the joys of aircraft ownership.
But yeah, but that the current plane I own is kind of the dream plane. I don't have another plane I would be wanting to buy at this point for competition.
How about, do you know any military plane you'd like to try?
A friend out here has a Harvard, and he's not taking me flying yet, and I'm very upset with him. But and they actually do some gentle aerobatics out here in the Harvard. I mean, I would love to be in a jet plane, like like literally.
You mentioned F-16, A-10,
yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, fly an actual jet would be awesome.
Thanks.
I would love to do that. And we didn't talk about it, and I didn't have it because I didn't have the plane. But we do wear parachutes, and I do wear a helmet when I fly, a flight suit, and gloves and shoes that are Nomex, because we do have a fuel tank in the cockpit with us. So if there is an incident and you rupture your fuel tank, you'll be soaked in fuel. And not everyone does that. I just am a little overly safety cautious.
No, it's smart.
And the helmet is because these canopies will kill you. That's the thing in the plane that will get you, is that canopy breaks, and they do break on the extras. I have my mask.
Oh yes, my dogs are just being kind of annoying now.
But not everyone does. But yes, we wear emergency parachutes as well. It's required by IAC in our competitions. So yeah.
Well, I think that okay. One more question here. Last question is from GG Aviation. Sorry, it says spades or weighted ailerons. Which rolls quicker?
It depends on the thing is it's not one or the other. It's because they're designed for the plane itself. So the SC actually has spades. They're smaller than the spades on the mid wings, and the counterweighted ailerons. So it has both. So it's really about the plane and the aerodynamics of the plane. I will say the SC definitely rolls faster than the mid wing. Though I love the way this plane flies. I had it just perfectly set up. It is just like, it just flies so perfect.
You should keep it. You should have 3 planes. Everyone needs 3 planes.
Yeah. Ching ching. That's all I'm going to say on that.
Yep.
But yeah. But anyway, well, if anyone has any more questions, totally find me on, again, Susan Bell Air on, and that's my Facebook page, or Twitter, or Instagram. Feel free to ask me questions and follow. And
where are your videos?
I have some videos on YouTube. Again, Susan Bell Air. I do not post a ton of videos.
It's a lot of work.
I'm just too busy, and a lot of my videos I use for training purposes, and I'm practicing something, and they're not perfect, and I don't want to share stuff that's not perfect. But I do have some videos on YouTube. I do have my Nationals Sportsman, which has the Arresti with it. So I did spend some time putting that flight together. I think it's my free program. So if you want to go watch that. But otherwise, and if you're going to be at Oshkosh, I'm probably going to be there in the middle of the week. I am starting A&P school next week. And so I don't think I can take the whole week off. But do come to my talks and introduce yourself. So yeah, anyway.
Thanks to everybody for coming and for putting up with the noise, the intermittent microphone, the crazy dogs wandering in and out of the picture, me positioning the camera to cut our heads off, and I'll just take another walk around the plane with the camera just to show anybody who arrived late the plane that we're talking about. And I hope that you folks will tell your friends about the live stream. It'll go up online and can be viewed again. Everyone's saying thank you, and I'm saying just thank you back to you guys. Thank you very much. Let's go take a look at that plane.
All right. Oh, and shoot the patty wax up ribbon.
Oh yeah, okay. We're gonna get the ribbon. Let's do that first. It's on my heavy tripod now, so. All right, so here is the Patty Wagstaff ribbon is in the back. You can see it hanging there. And here's Plane Baby. Again, Plane Baby is for sale. It's an aerobatic airplane. And if you want to know more about it, watch this video again from the beginning, and you'll hear a lot about it. And you can also get in touch with Susan if you're interested, or you know somebody who might be interested in it. Again, the reason the cowling's off is she was doing some work on it. She was working on the exhaust and did an oil change and stuff. So, Okay, thank you very much. And all right, take care, everybody. Bye.